All right. So we're going to talk about the 7 things that I predicted in 2020 that manifest and materialize themselves by using my consciousness. Now, what is consciousness? Consciousness is fundamentally information. Okay? I am information. You are information. You are receiving my information from a phone. Okay? That phone is a black mirror. Okay? That black mirror contains quartz crystals in it. That black mirror gives you information. Okay, it's feeding you knowledge. Okay, the symbology, what is symbology? Okay, it's hidden in plain sight. This is how in esoteric books, knowledge, they would hide this kind of information from the vulgar and profane, okay, because they might distort, pervert, and invert the sacred teachings. They didn't want to give this information to everybody. Okay? Now, the seers in the old days, they used to use black mirrors. The closest thing to a black mirror was called obsidian. Okay? They'd get themselves in a trance and they'd be able to extract information from that black mirror, which is basically a portal. Now, let's look at your Apple phone. What was the first price of the Apple computer? Well, I'll be damned, $666.66, huh? So the apple is bitten into from the tree of knowledge, right? Are you getting it? Okay. All right. So that we have that down, occultism has already integrated itself into technology. It's crazy, right? That's the way consciousness works, because it's fundamentally information. Okay, a little bit about me. I don't want to get too much into it, but I basically incarnated into duality. Duality is what? Light and dark, chaos and order. Okay, pretty rough childhood. Like I said, extreme forms of chaos and order I had incarnated into, and I've always had the eyes to see since I was a kid. And I would also pick up these telepathic impressions. Sometimes they'd be voices, sometimes they'd be images into my mind's eye. And I would be able to see the future. And usually it was for survival, ways of survival growing up in that kind of environment. I'll get into my personal stuff later. I want to stay focused into these predictions, though, okay? And, me... what I do now a little bit, I'm transitioning out, but I'm a EKG tech at a hospital. Okay, so most of these predictions were for the people that I work with, because they're the ones that have to deal with this gain of function malfunction that happened. I completely got thrown under the bus to protect the elite. By the way, that's what really happened. Okay, it's a damn shame, because people in the hospital actually have good hearts. So here we go. Okay, we're going to go with the first prediction. Okay, and now we're going to use some symbology. So 2020 vision, see clearly, ascend and transcend. Okay, that was January 1st. And here in the symbology, as you see, we have the magician climbing up the Jacob's ladder, trying to ascend into self-realization. What is self-realization? Realizing that God is within, that you have the same potential as God. So the right-hand path will say, okay, let's work with God in cooperation and help everybody else ascend, lower our ego, lower our fears, give as much compassion as possible. Whereas the left-hand path, not so much, selfish path, run over your ass, no matter what, to get to Godhead. And once they achieve Godhead, after they've double-crossed and backstabbed everybody, and remember, there is no such thing as social constructs for the left-hand path, okay? And I'm saying extreme forms of it, okay? There is no social constructs. It's pure chaos, okay? It's pure darkness. Now, you also have these false light Luciferians. We'll get into that later, okay? But for now, they're trying to get into Godhead. But once they get into Godhead, which certain bloodlines have, family bloodlines, such as the Rothschilds, once they acquire the banking system, now it's about suppressing everybody else's consciousness to eliminate that competition. Because the banksters that are involved in chaos magic or black magic want to suppress everybody else's consciousness because it's competition. They don't want competition. Okay? All right. Now, I don't really want to get off track here because I can go a million directions on this. I'll stay focused, okay? All right. So, a little bit about what happened. I did this interview, okay, May 29th with this guy by the name of Florentine. Okay, he's an astral projector as well. He coaches it. So, I had this talk with him of my experience in astral projection. To make a long story short, because it's a 54-minute video, I basically ended up in an Asian country, okay? I thought I was in the lower astral because there was a bunch of fear and chaos, and these people were terrified and getting like locked up, okay? So I thought to myself, what the hell is this? This is the lower astral. So I got out of there. I kept getting pulled back, so I thought to myself, well, this must be a learning lesson, right? Sure enough, as I took a closer look, you can see the transition, meaning that people were dying. So I decided to get on the media to see if I can find anything. I couldn't find anything, so I ended up posting these things on my Facebook for those that have the eyes to see, ears to hear, heart to feel, and they can decode the symbology, okay? That's what they do in esoteric teachings, right? They decode the symbology. So I'm gonna, with these predictions, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so we'll go with February 11th. I'm not gonna read the whole thing for time constraints, but you can. So it's basically a quote from World War Z, right? Where we know what's the movie symbology there, right? What is the allegory? It's a virus, right, with the vaccine. Okay, that comes out in an Asian country. All right. So I posted the quote and the link to the clip, and it's a Mother Nature is a serial killer quote. Okay, and that was on February 11, 2020. So now what happens? Let's take a look. March 11th, 2020, 1 month later, looks like COVID was declared a pandemic. By who? All right. So let's go with the next prediction. The next prediction has to do with the food run, okay, or the panic buying, all right? So here we have another symbology. Look at it, right? So how do the powers that be influencers get the message to the masses without panicking them? Symbolism, psychology, figure out a way to enter the subconscious mind by the power of suggestion. I came to a realization during my intense meditations that some of the greatest spiritual people aren't necessarily in Sedona, but are locked up in a psych ward pacified by psychotropic drugs. Not all of them. The key factor here is no one ever taught them how to ground and center their awareness. They're parallel processing with aspects of their consciousness split amongst multiple dimensions. Hint, that's why it looks like they're losing their shit. There's no focal point for them. They can't focus their awareness. So instead of sharing my mystical experiences and then people questioning my mental health, I want to say, Nicolas Cage is a great actor. He is known for National Treasury and the adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's short story, Color Out of Space. If you truly study all aspects of metaphysics and occultism, the name should ring a bell. I see that he recently went to go visit his own pyramid-shaped tomb in New Orleans. What significance is a pyramid-shaped tomb after death? Ask the Egyptians. They are the true seekers of knowledge and the creators of the mystery and esoteric schools. What is Nicolas Cage's underlying message? Why would Bob Iger, an elite of the CEO of Disney, forfeit his multi-million-dollar contract when he still has 20 months left on it? Who has the eyes to see what I truly meant on February 11th? Now here's the hint. By the way, I am Mexican-American. My favorite food is beans and rice. I love water. When I'm sick, I take Theraflu, Motion, or Tylenol. Love you guys. Okay. So now we look for manifestation, right? What happened on the panic buying? Well, it looks like a few weeks later, right? So beginning of March, towards mid-March, we had panic buying. And there's the article there. All right. All right, next prediction is a stock market prediction, okay, in 2020. Now, I still make these predictions today. Okay, I've got it down, though, within a range. And the reason why is because the future is probabilistic and the free will intent, like it's free will choice, is the main factor. That's why you're not able to, always be able to hit within a certain number, okay? Because you have free will choice. Now, this is very important, so I'm going to actually read this out. When physicists conduct experiments, they use protocols to eliminate the variables. During that process, they can calculate the results of the experiment more accurately. They collect the data and observe what works and what didn't. They refine the experiment in order to collect as many data points as possible. The more consistently accurate the data collected, the more confident the physicists can theoretically create a TOE, theory of everything. Tom Campbell, nuclear physicist, has been scientifically collecting the data in the non-physical for 30 years. He has created a version of My Big TOE that explains the nature of reality, consciousness, and metaphysics. He theorized that the future is probabilistic, and our free will and intent are variables of that probability. A simple rhyme: once upon a time, just before Valentine. Okay, so what does that last part mean there? Well, I texted my buddy Sean. He works with me. He's into stocks. And I had texted him one day, okay, before Valentine's, February 13th. I said, hey, you heard it here first. I think the stock market is going to pop. Okay, so he says, do tell. Now, what are we looking for, right? That was February 13th at 8:59. I'll be damned. February 20th, 2020. On the 20th of February 2020, stock markets across the world suddenly crashed after growing instability due to COVID-19 pandemic. It ended on April 7th, 2020. Okay, there's another data point, right? We're collecting data points, basically. That's what we're doing. Now this next one's going to be a little complicated, okay? And I better make sure we get this right here, okay? Because these people get real crazy here in this damn school, okay? My grandfather, okay, had a lot of Navajo blood in him. He was born and raised in Gallup, New Mexico, okay? My other grandfather was a Spaniard, okay? When the Spaniard and the Navajo, right, get together, they create what? Mexican American. Okay? All right. So now that that's clear, right? I don't want to hear these identity politics bullshit before I start the next prediction, okay? Because people are very sensitive here on purpose, and they don't realize that they are black magicians within the banking industry that are into dividing and conquering and using race baiting to do it. Okay? All right, prediction now. April 9th, 2020. Isn't humanity an evolving system? We need low entropy order during high entropy disorder moments. New York. Because in my vision, I kept seeing New York being one of the most chaotic places, along with Chicago. A focused collective intent with global meditation can modify the probability of future events. The more people, the more power generated. I want to see us make it through this. I don't want to live with the phrase cursed with knowledge, okay? The energy shifts for us in the middle of May. That's very important you hear that out. The energy shifts for us in the middle of May. Remember, this is April 9th, 2020. We will know by then. This is humanity's opportunity to maximize the rate of evolution. The soul of humanity evolves through world crisis. And then here, it's very important that we decode some of this symbolism, right? Because everything is hidden in allegory. Everything is hidden in plain sight. We get the definition of what the edge of chaos is, and to the right here, we have this MK Ultra butterfly. Now, this is a true story. This is not false, okay? Unfortunately, you have these new world order government PSYOP entities out there, okay, doing horrific experiments to not only people, but children, and then bringing out their psychic potential in them, basically creating little monsters that they're able to control. Okay, it's pretty horrific shit. It's a hell of a way to get somebody's psychic powers. Okay. To the left there, we have what they call an egregore. Now, what is an egregore? Well, it's an extremely powerful thought form, all right? And I kept seeing this extremely powerful egregore, all right? And it's basically, you can have positive ones, but this one in particular was a negative one because of what happened, okay? Now, let's get back to the prediction. So, I had said, what? Middle of May. Okay, and I said this on April 9th, 2020. Now, what we look for is, did anything happen, which it did, to create this antagonizing, huge, powerful egregore? Well, let's see what happens. Well, I'll be damned. George Floyd, May 25th, 2020. Looks like that horrific scene kept getting replayed in the media, right? And it was a horrific situation, by the way. But that, by showing that on the media and having everybody locked down, you pull your awareness into the black phone, basically, okay? And black magic is being done on the collective consciousness without them even knowing it. That's the crazy thing, okay? So the media keeps antagonizing, and then we have nothing but a bunch of chaos and looters and, killings and all this chaos just being run free, right? Which is basically what? It's black magic. This is black magicians. And we're going to go straight to those families, okay? They're within the, we can get mad at Fauci all you want. Basically, he's New World Order Jesuit, okay? But the main focal point are these banks, okay? Such as the Rothschilds, magical families, such as those Windsors, okay, out in England, right, with that whole Prince Andrew scandal, the divide and conquer. Get the collective consciousness distracted while we, smoke and mirrors while we continue our shenanigans. Okay? So there comes another. I did say mid-May. It's probabilistic, and it ended up happening a little bit later. So May 25th, okay, with Floyd. So here though, May 28th, I'd make a post. Now we see the directions we are headed. High entropy. What is high entropy? It's chaos. Do we really believe Trump signed an executive order kill switch on social media for political purposes? All aligned for next week's and month's events. All right. So, next prediction, okay? And we're going to get to this damn egregore because now, and I don't want to get too much into it, but now we're in that situation of World War III where that egregore is still looking for that feeding frenzy of chaos. And so when you look at what's going on in Ukraine, okay, you got to look at where's the most killing and chaos that this egregore can feed on, okay, because it's hungry. Because black magic is what created it. That's why it's very important that you don't fall for these divide and conquer tactics, okay, that you don't get involved in this race war bullshit. Okay, next up. June 1st, 2020, these black op entities will stop at nothing to fulfill their agenda. So in my vision, I got this big ass explosion. Okay. Sometimes, in these visions, you don't get the full story. You just get sort of like bits and pieces of it. And, you can try to go back to it, but this year I'm busy focused on other things, man. I'm trying to focus, because I work in the medical field, I'm trying to focus my awareness on high quality CPR compressions and resurrecting. Okay. And by the way, that I don't say that from an ego level because you need an entire team to do that. Okay. Everybody has a certain skill set and then you work off their skill set. Okay. So you need an entire team to save a life. Okay. So here we go. We've got this huge explosion. Okay. But I do see entities that were involved in that. Okay. It's very important, unfortunately, the CIA are involved in these proxy wars. So they like to go into these countries, particularly in the Middle East, and they start these proxy wars. An example of that would be Arab Spring when Obama was in office there. Okay. So now we look for manifestations. August 4th, 2020, there was a huge explosion, right? That's that Beirut explosion. All right, so there's another data point that is collected. All right, now, next up, the big one, right? This is going to be the election. October 23rd, 2020. Okay, take my experience with a grain of salt. As I stood in line doing my due diligence to vote early, I received a smart electronic voting card. I practiced an ability called psychometry. If you don't know what that is, it's basically to be able to grab an object and extract the information. I practiced, the information I received was corrupted file. Later on that day, I dug a little deeper and went into deep meditation, and I received visions of the probabilistic future. Here's what I saw. Trump and Biden's election is in the air due to malfunctioning software glitches, aka votes being manipulated. This creates confusion, fear, anxiety amongst the masses. The end result is more political theater. Meanwhile, the American people and the world suffer under the hands of corrupt politicians, technocrats, globalists, nationalists, China, anarchists, hackers, and whoever the hell else wants to be attacking the superpower called the United States of America. Welcome to the game. So let's talk about the game. All right, the game nowadays in this 21st century is called a VR simulation, right? That's the metaphor that we're going to use. We are in a VR simulation, and everybody's on video games, and we can use that to best associate what the nature of reality is. And it's very true. The problem is that we're imbalanced. You already are in a VR simulation, playing another VR simulation, but why the hell do you want to do that? The game is like right here, right now, like interacting with people, right? But not to certain technocrats. Certain technocrats wants you inside a VR simulation to which they control the parameters. Okay? So basically another form of control. It's great that you get the concept that video games relates to the nature of reality as it being a VR simulation. That's great. But to actually live within a game, within a game, within a game, you're going to lose yourself in the game. And I know this because I myself was addicted to World of Warcraft like in my 20s, okay? I remember one time I spent like 16 hours on that damn game, okay? So try not to get addicted because there's a lot of things that get you addicted here on this school. All right. The other thing about the game is that's just this era. You understand? So like in the ancient esoteric literature, like I said, they hid everything in symbology within the books. And there was many reasons. Like I said, the vulgar, to hide it from the vulgar and the profane, and also they were getting persecuted by the church. Okay? So the game back in those days, they would use the metaphors of, let's go Shakespeare style, right? The world is a stage and everybody has to play their part. Do you know what I'm saying? So these politicians, don't think for 1 second they're not controlled, okay? This is political theater. They're just giving you a show. That magicians are the ones that rule the world. Okay? That's just the fucking truth. Okay, let's look at the next prediction. Let's go October 25th, 2020. What could possibly happen next in 2020? Another reality check. Mother Nature is in charge. Think planetary alignment, magnetically connecting to Earth, most likely around Hallows Eve. 3D virtual reality drama continues. Here we left symbolism. We've got the definition of Hallows Eve, and then we've got not only the seismic reader, but the underwater one. Earthquakes happen every single day. Anybody could predict earthquake, but tsunamis are particularly rare. So in my vision, when I looked in the probabilistic future, I had seen that tsunami around Hallows Eve. Now let's look for manifestations. Did something happen around Hallows Eve? Sure enough, October 30th, 2020, a large shallow earthquake of the moment magnitude MW minus 7.0 ruptured on the eastern Aegean Sea area north of the islands of Samos, Greece, and caused a powerful tsunami. So there we go, right? Another data point. Now, October 30th, 2020. Remember, the 3rd of November. So now we're getting signs here. We're giving warning signs. Now I'm going to add to this, and we'll see who wants to say anything. Maybe they don't. But there's a place that we go to decompress, me and some of the ER staff, medical staff, and I had told them around that time what would happen with the election. Okay, so if any of them ever want to speak about that, they can. I'm pretty sure they can remember that conversation. But I told them exactly that these technocrat intellects would go ahead and do what they did with the election. So that'll be your eyewitness testimony. So here we go. Now let's look for manifestations, right? November 7th, 2020. Well, I'll be damned. Here we go. Now we all see. We got a Breitbart article right there where it says they're demanding a manual recount in places with a software glitch. Okay, so there we go. Another data point. Now we could talk about forensic analysis on those machines, and there was a big drama in Arizona about the getting the machines, and so long story short, we have to wait about a year and a half to see if they can grab those machines to get a forensic analysis. And sure enough, they did. I posted about it as well. But the media is never going to report on that. All right, let's sum up the 7 predictions in 2020. Number 1, we've got the gain of function malfunction, okay? The pandemic. Number 2, we've got the economy crash 2020. Number 3, we've got the food run. Number 4, we've got Beirut explosion. Okay. Number 5, we've got chaos, okay, in the streets with the Floyd situation, right? Divide and conquer, antagonize the minorities. Number 6, we've got the earthquake of October 30th. And then number 7, we have the election. So 7 predictions that manifest and materialized in 2020. Now let's talk about the 7 hermetic principles: mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. Okay? Do you know the biggest violation that happened in 2020? Okay? The cause and effect. There's also a cosmic law called the cosmic law of free will choice. And then you have the egregore. There's 3 main factors that happened in 2020 that are still affecting us today in 2023. Those 3 things. That cause and effect rippled. You cannot avoid these laws. These are universal laws. When you violate free will choice, meaning that the American people picked Trump, that's a violation. That's a cosmic violation. There's huge repercussions that go on, that ripple out in the universe, okay? And the pendulum will come and swing back. Law of cause and effect. You caused that situation by violating free will choice, and now the effects ripple out. You know the amount of karma that you have acquired by doing that? You probably set yourself back about 1,000 lifetimes. I'm not kidding. That's a lot of free will choice that was violated. And now we have this egregore that we have to deal with, that you might be able to peel off remotely, okay, that has manifested itself into our material plane, looking for chaos to feed on, starting this World War III of revelations. This is why you're not supposed to be violating cosmic law. These 7 principles are pretty much set in stone. The mystics, the magicians, the occultists, they know about this. Stay tuned for 2021.